a snare. Shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth, a snare. Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man.
Hebrews chapter 11, verses 1 through 3. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him.
It's simple.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it was the voice that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I was each and every time, every night, I was ready to listen to the Torah study and precepts. I wanted to hear that voice each and every time.
It was all around me. And once I started searching, as God put it in my mind to search for him, to seek. And
but it's like everything that I had questions about, Mika would answer it, and Wabah call it
His voice again. So it had a distinct sound, but it had a piercing. It had a piercing inside. I never had something pierce me on the inside, heart and mind. Wow. Just from a physical. Yeah.
Lesson number 5 in the world's best kept secret. I may be quoting it wrong, but it was lesson number 5.
And if we study, well, when I studied.
Now, I've never heard no man talk like that. Burdens. Wow.
And of course, when I tuned into that line and called in, I heard that voice again, and something that echoed in my mind. I'd heard it before, of course, but I was just drawn to the voice, of course.
The voice.
Left alone to go into his teaching, and
before I got here, I was watching videos of teaching the way he teach.
And when he teach and you comprehend his teaching, it can't be taught by nobody else. Like
right.
This something that, like, it's.
He was doing telestudies, and how he was going live.
Directly with the word.
Praise you.
And our mom.
Okay.
Coming into the knowledge of Christ and being amongst him and coming to class for.
I said, John came on the scene and you ain't know who talked.
Right.
And this bring reference.
used to watch his videos and listen to the telestudies and stuff like that.
Right.
So it was the more of the, I started hearing his voice and it started reminding me of a familiar voice. It reminded me of Yahweh and Yahweh.
Okay, so it was basically the voice. Once you got a chance to hear Mika Israel teach, then his voice did something to you and it connected you.
They believe in a dead man. And they're dead people.
I just believe that that's the role that they've been destined to play, and yeah.
After I demonstrate my persistence, that I would be rewarded with those who would come into the knowledge and who would believe and be redeemed, and that's what I'm doing. And of course, then the world will take notice through the work that I do.
Now, as we pause here for just a moment, let me reveal to you that the image that you see here in this time interview that was recorded in 1986 in Miami of Florida, at the time known as the Temple of Love, international headquarters of the Yahweh, of Yahwehs. Now, with that said, the image was known, is still known by many today, as whom named himself, I quote, Yahweh ben Yahweh, end quote. However, that was the final naming of himself. Now, I said that to say this, going back into time, when he first arrived to Miami of Florida in 1979, he first came bearing the name, I quote, Moses Israel, end quote.
The leader of Miami's Yahweh Temple is Moses Israel.
And that was his pen signature of many books that he wrote, beginning with even the first pamphlets that he wrote, to have distributed throughout Miami-Dade County at the time, which includes the targets of the so-called ghettos of Miami-Dade County. Ghettos such as what they call Pork and Bean or Liberty City, and the Overtown area of close to downtown area, and the Brownsville area. Those were the three main ghettos that were targeted of my people. Again, that's Pork and Bean, Liberty City, and the Overtown area, as Brownsville was the headquarters. Now, with that said, he used, quote, Moses, Israel, Jeremiah 15:16, end quote. So, what is Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 16? What does that say? I quote, Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 16. Thy words were found, and I did eat them, and thy word was unto me the joy and rejoicing of mine heart, for I am called by thy name, O Lord God of hosts, end quote. Now, notice in this verse, it says, first, thy words were found. And then that's followed by only thy word was unto me, the joy and rejoicing of mine heart. Now, thy words represents the scrolls that were found by the elders and by men of the world throughout history. Thy words that were found on scrolls, Hebrew scrolls. However, the single appearance of word represents the word that was made flesh, which would be the Son of the God of the Hebrews. I am that is found in the King James Version Holy Bible's book called Exodus in chapter 3 and verse 14. That is who I am. I am that I am
known as Mem Yod, not Moses. I am the one that came to Moses and said to Moses that I am is the one, not him. Now, furthermore into this verse, it says, thy word was unto me the joy and rejoicing of mine heart. So that particular me and mine represents a personal ownership. So the word made flesh was the Son, and mine would be the one who found the words. For I am called by thy name, and the name that he used at the time, remember, was Moses Israel. That is not the name of the God of the Hebrews. I said that to say this, continuing on. That only lasted until 1981, when he then, during a Shabbat class, revealed himself and took on the name as, I quote, Yahshua the Messiah. And that only lasted for a little while until it was then corrected for us to say, as I was there, to call him Yahshua our Messiah. That would be the third name in less than 4 years. Again, that would be from 1979 to 1981, which is actually 2 years. Now, the third year in 1982, from Yahshua, our Messiah, to then we were instructed and commanded to call him Yahweh, our Messiah. That's 1982. And that will identify a God that does not exist, it being that that is the name that he brought with him to Miami, Florida, Yahweh in English. So it being that the people, my people that were there, and being introduced to the knowledge of Yahweh as the God of Hebrews, then they, by all means, recognize him as being the Son of Yahweh, as he later proclaimed. However, in 1983, at the beginning of 1983 to late 1982, the announcement was made by him that his new name would be, and I quote, Yahweh ben Yahweh, end quote. And according to him, Yahweh ben Yahweh means God, the Son of God. I am in fact Yahweh ben Yahweh in Hebrew. That means God, the Son of God in the flesh.
That's quote unquote. However, that is not true. God in Hebrew is Elohim, Elohim. And the son of is Beth Nusofi. So therefore, with that said and confirmed, Yahweh ben Yahweh does not mean God, the Son of God. So what does? Well, Elohim, Beth Nusofi, Elohim. That is what means in English to interpret it, God, the Son of God. Again, Elohim, Beth Nusofi, Elohim, which is God, the Son of God, quote unquote. That means that Yahweh ben Yahweh is an idolatrous name. And what do we mean by that? Well, this man who called himself from Moses Israel in 1979 to Yahweh ben Yahweh in 1982, late 1982, early 1983, he became an idolatrous priest. Remember, he took on the position of a priest, being Moses. Moses was a Levite priest. However, this one came from the tribe called Yehuda, or Judah in English. That is all so-called African Americans today whose forefathers were brought into captivity and placed in bondage and slavery in this land called the United States today. At that time, when they were first brought over, known as the 13 colonies. First landed in Plymouth Rock in Jamestown, Virginia, the slaves. They were not Africans, they were Israelites from and of the tribe called Yehudah, the fourth tribe of the 12 tribes of Israel. So now you may ask or be asking, what is an idolatrous priest? What is an idolatrous priest? Which is spelled in English from left to right. Idolatrous is I-D-O-L-A-T-R-O-U-S. Idolatrous. And let's go to now the book called 2 Kings, chapter 23. And let us see what an idolatrous priest is, according to Scripture. Begin at verse 1. And that reads, I quote, And the king sent, and they gathered unto him all the elders of Yehudah and of Jerusalem. Remember, we're going to pronounce the words with J as if it was Y, because that's what they originated from. They were translated from the original Yod in Hebrew, the Y in English. So that's Yehudah and Jerusalem. Verse 2, And the king went up into the house of the Lord, and all the men of Yehudah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests, and the prophets, and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant, which was found in the house of the Lord. And there you will find the meaning of what we mentioned a few moments ago of the words that were found. The words that were found and read in the ears of all the people that were there and found. See, it was found in the house of the Lord. Those are the words that were found in Jeremiah 15:16 that were found by him in the house of the Lord. The books, today they call them a Bible. All the books together are known today as the Bible, like the one we're reading from, the King James Version, 1611 edition. As verse 3 goes on to read, and I quote again, And the king stood by a pillar and made a covenant before the Lord to walk after the Lord and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all their heart and all their soul, to perform the words of his covenant that were written in this book. And all the people stood to the covenant. Verse 4, And the king commanded Hilkiah, the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the keepers of the door, to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal, and for the grove, and for all the host of heaven. And he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kedron, and carried the ashes of them unto Bethel. And finally, verse 5, And he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the kings of Judah, Yehudah, had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, Yehudah, and the places round about Jerusalem, them also that burned incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the host of heaven. End quote. And keep in mind now that the sun, all the incense that were burned unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, today they are called zodiac signs to the people of this planet today. Now, go back up now to the first sentence of verse 5, and there you'll find the word idolatrous. Again, spelled from left to right. I-D-O-L-A-T-R-O-U-S. T-R-O-U-S, as in I do let us of us. Now, let's see what that word means, the original in Hebrew. And it takes us to a Hebrew word that's known as kamar. Kamar, and it spells in Hebrew from right to left. Kaf, mem, resh. Again, kaf, mem, resh. That you can find in your Strong's Concordance under reference H3648. And it means, it's a primitive root. It means to intertwine or contract. That is, by implication, to shrivel, as with heat, figuratively, to be deeply affected with passion, love, or pity. Also to be black, be kindled, and yearn. Now, that would explain, the love part would explain why it was called the Temple of Love in Miami, Florida, because of the idolatrous priest who intertwined all of the names that he used, the intertwine of all the news that became a contract. Now, the meaning of the word intertwine, spelled from left to right, I-N-T-E-R-T-W-I-N-E, intertwine. It means to twist or link two or more things together so closely that they become difficult to separate. For example, Yahweh ben Yahweh, or Yahshua, our Messiah, Yahshua, the Messiah. Too closely, so closely that they become difficult to separate. From Moses to Yahweh, as the same being, in disguise, incognito, as who he truly was. And remember, in Revelation chapter 21 and verse 8, it said that all idolators, which is a synonymous meaning, a synonymous word for adulteress, idolator is the same meaning. And that was fulfilled because, remember, during the month of May 2007, he found his part that burned with the lake of fire and brimstone is called cremation. That body was cremated with fire and brimstone. Remember, it was made out of stone and metal, the crematory. And according to the meaning of the idolatrous, again spelled from left to right in English, idolatrous, that word bears the meaning of, is described the worship of idols or a practice involving blind, like the blind people that could not see him, excessive, and uncritical devotion to someone or something, as his followers did. An uncritical devotion, they devoted their lives to him, to someone, him. It typically falls into two main contexts. Number one, religious literal, meaning relating to the worship of physical objects, statues, or images as deities. For example, Yahweh. And objects, as in, at the beginning, the hexagram, the Star of David, to eventually four symbols, actually three symbols, that were actually Hebrew characters that bears a meaning, that then became the name, the so-called name of God, which it is not. And those three characters, one position twice, would be from right to left, Yod, He, Wav, He. Those are images. That's not the name of the God of the Hebrews. Each character bears a meaning, which are from left to right, the door, the truth, the way, and the life. That is not the name of the God of Hebrews. And finally, number 2 is a figurative meaning, which means exhibiting extreme, almost worshipful admiration. Worshipful admiration, reverence, or obsession toward a person or concept. And that is exactly what happened to my people. They became obsessed with Yahweh ben Yahweh. For example, an idolatrous devotion to fame, the most famous black religious leader in the country, even more famous than, at the time, Louis Farrakhan. From 1979, even up to 2007, to the death, the second death. And that is the meaning of idolatrous. He was an idolatrous priest. It also became a shrivel, a passion of love for the pity of the people that came to him. Remember, he was not sent. He came to Miami of Florida in 1979. He was not sent. Looking at his previous background before he came to Miami in 1979, even during the mid to late 60s, would explain why he came to Miami. That's mentioned and revealed in our previous videos of our testimonies. Nevertheless, and in conclusion of this short pause for a moment, let us remind you and make an extreme emphasis that what he done was to fulfill prophecy that was left by the Christ of the Hebrews. That's the Christ of the God of the Hebrews. That's confirmed in Revelation chapter 12 and verse 10, his Christ. Why his Christ? Because going back now, again, Matthew chapter 24, the Christ left word in verse 5, among 2 others, that says, I quote, "For many shall come in my name." At the time,
and not know the time. So I'm here restoring time. Ironically talking 2 times. In time. On time.
His disciples only knew his name as Yahshua.
Just remember his name is Yahshua. Yeah.
Saying, I am Christ.
No, I am the Messiah.
And shall deceive many.
Yahweh was the infamous founder of a religious movement that started in South Florida decades ago.
That was fulfilled. So it started from verse 5, that he came as Moses Israel.
The leader of Miami's Yahweh Temple is Moses Israel.
As a priest, the high priest of the children of Israel. Then remember, going back, in late 1981, he called himself Yahshua, the Messiah / Yahshua, our Messiah. And at that time he also said, I am Christ. I am the Son of Yahweh. I am the Messiah. Thus fulfilling verse 5 of Matthew chapter 24. Then, remember, months later, he rose up to another name, another meaning. And that fulfills verse 11 that says, I quote, "And many false prophets shall rise from Yahshua, our Messiah, to now Yahweh, our Messiah. They shall deceive many, as he did." And finally, it comes to verse 24, as just before November 7th, 1990, he began to reveal himself as a false Christ, thus fulfilling verse 24 that says, I quote, "For there shall arise false Christ." That means from A, being Moses Israel, to rise as Yahshua, our Messiah, to a rise of a false Christ, and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders. And the signs that were shown were all of the signs that he placed around the city of Miami, Miami-Dade County, of the Yahweh grocery stores, the Yahweh motels, the Yahweh apartment buildings, the Yahweh buses, great signs of a name that does not exist. Yahweh is not the name of the God of the Hebrews, as a reminder. As people will wonder, great signs and wonders. People wondering, is that the name of the God of the Hebrews? I wonder what's going on here with the Yahwehs. Insomuch that, if it were possible, those signs and those false Christs and those false prophets shall deceive the very elect. End quote. And he was not successful in revealing himself as the Son of God to the very elect. He did not deceive the very elect, because the very elect were elected before the foundations of the world, the chosen, and they're here with the Christ today, the true Christ.
You have walked in my light for 12 long, hard, suffering years on my part. And I have suffered your soiled hands and your sore mentality. And I'm not coming back to it. Ever. That's over and done. And it's finished. And you can read Matthew chapter 5, verse 8. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see Yahweh. In verse 16, let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father, Yahweh, which is in heaven. So, you can't do this without the knowledge of your name and live it. You can't walk in my light anymore. It's over. See, all of you been wearing white because I wore it.
We just thought that we would bring that to your attention. And now as we continue on in his testimony.
He also never performed, taught any of the things that the word that is made flesh today that is in the vessel of Mika Israel. He has never brought back to life anyone.
She had declared him that he was dead. So Memyo went over to the bed of the boy and he leaned over him and he said his name a few times. He looked in his eyes and then he did one breath.
I am the Messiah that is prophesied. I am.
How can you say he is your Messiah, not having the knowledge of who I is? How can you say that you only follow Yahweh ben Yahweh and his teachings? How can he continue to teach you and your children when he is not here in the flesh? When he said that no one will come after me?
3. That came from its etymology known as Satar. Satar. The same spelling. From right to left. Samek Tav Resh. And it means to hide and conceal, to hide oneself, to be hidden as I have hidden myself all of these years, for 70 years, to be concealed and to hide oneself carefully, according to Strong's H5641. It is the only place in the Bible where this word protection is found. Protection. In Espanol, protección. Protección.
Protección.
And in Deuteronomy chapter 32, in verse 39, see now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. Mika, Memyod, I'm the one who kill, and I make alive. I wound, and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven, to my arm, and say, I live forever. That's Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 40. And going back to verse 39, you see I, even I. That's the Father, the F, and that is the Son, the other I, the S. I, the Father of F, even I, the Son of S. That's F, S. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me. Or else believe me for the very work's sake. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. And I am he, I'm also me, and I have returned as promised.
But only and only one can tell you these things.
For thereby some have entertained angels unawares.
The Christ is in Area 51 today, not to destroy or kill his people, but to restore our minds, deliver us from this wickedness, uplift us, and bring us back to remembrance of who we are, who we is on this planet, so that we can be prepared as a bride adorned for her husband for that great departure. It was all a part of script, but it was all staged. Yahweh being Yahweh is not even a Hebrew name. That is an English name. God is not English, he's Hebrew. It started with Hulon Mitchell Jr. deceiving their minds. All the wickedness, his own that was wicked, that was against righteousness, that was amongst him. The same as in the scriptures. All that Yo did in Yahweh ben Yahweh was done intentionally to attract the false believers, the sinners, was done to pull out the weeds, the wicked ones, so that in the last days, which is now, in the end, that the righteous ones, the very elected ones, his angels, those souls may be preserved without corruption, that there will be no mistake who is who and what is what. Fact also, at the Celestial Lodge, not one soul has been told to leave or kicked out. Everyone that did come that was wicked and unrighteous left on their own. At all times, at the Celestial Lodge, with God, we are taught to be righteous. We do not have rules, we have righteousness and order.
Coming into the knowledge of who is Christ and who is the Father and what are their names. There's only one that can reveal these things. Being with him, we all have witnessed for ourselves who he is and who the Father is. Even I, can tell you who John the Baptist is, also known as Yahweh ben Yahweh, and he was merely just a vessel used to guide the wicked away from the true and holy ones that are meant to be with him today. Only one can tell you these things. Who do you think that is?
If you do not believe that he is here, if you claim that you know that he is who he is, if you got to meet him in the flesh and able to witness for yourself, and if you believe in the testimonies and you still, with all those things, do not submit yourself and be in order and follow the commandments and follow the orders, follow the laws, be obedient. If you do not be obedient to God and follow his voice, you will not make it. You will not have mercy upon you. God is done. Yod is done. There is no more grace and mercy for you. It is time to go. Eat what you want to eat. Do what you want to do. Say what you want to say. Go where you want to go. Wear what you want to wear. For that day and hour knoweth no man. Be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. Daniel 12, verses 1 through 2. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt.
To wit, you cannot prove morally, righteously, and justly, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I am not the son of the God of the Hebrews, until you can prove righteously, morally, justly, beyond a shadow of a doubt, who is the son of the God of the Hebrews.